and you can quote this on me. There is no way the Orioles or Red Sox make the playoffs this season. Yeah, yeah. There's no way. There's no way.
I set the bar really low at the NBA predictions.
I don't think all Mavs fans look into the stats like I do.
It's not the great value Target brand toilet paper or whatever. It's the Charmin Ultra Strong.
I don't know if Nick Nurse is the coach for the Raptors. I don't know if he's the reason why they won the 2019 championship. I feel like that was more of a team effort.
The Mavs cannot say we do not miss Seth Curry shooting threes.
This questions the firing of Dwayne Casey, who I think is a very underrated coach.
To me, the Capitals really pushed all their chips for this season.
Hello, I'm Mike Grimes, and you've been listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NFL Opinions of the Week. This one's a little bit close to home as we are talking about Jerry Jones as a GM. But the man that introduced this question, Austin.
Yeah, the Cowboys have not had the start to the season that they anticipated or expected. And there's been discussions regarding Jerry Jones. There's been obviously interview controversies and everything else that's happened. But as a Cowboy fan, what would it take for Jerry Jones to hire a GM?
I don't think for there to be a GM of the Cowboys, there would have to not be a Jones of the a Jones member of the family being the owner. I just don't see him doing it because the problems with the Cowboys was seen in the offseason, and we've talked about the offseason. If you want to be a great GM, which the Cowboys were a few moves away from being a great team. They were a really good team in the regular season. They just couldn't put it together in the playoffs. But to keep that floating, you need excellent GM work. I'll say you have two great dynasties so far. I don't know if we've qualified the Chiefs as a dynasty yet. If
you win 3, you're a dynasty.
Yeah. And I think it was 3 and 6. So they're a dynasty. Look at what they've been able to do. A lot of that's with the deals they've given. They're able to keep the best quarterback in the league. And now the best defensive lineman. One of the best defensive linemen on the same team while having a great tight end as well. And that's all under the work. The Cowboys, the big problem was to me, they don't do enough of free agency and draft because they are a great drafting team, especially if Mozzie Smith turns them to something. The only really bad first round draft pick would be Taco Charlton, which would be TJ Watt was drafted 2017 or 2018. Austin.
I'm thinking.
I want to say 2018.
I was going to say 2017. I'll look it up real quick.
Because, of course, the Cowboys took Taco Charlton over TJ Watt. And that, of course, Taco Charlton is not in the league anymore. But I was thinking about this. They are a great drafting team. They hit on some late round picks.
It was 2017. I was right.
2017. All right. You're right. Hey, who's 2018? Oh, yeah. 2018 must have been. No. Okay. But we kind of saw this problem with the Packers before they got a GM. Who was the GM before your current GM?
I can't remember. I'm trying to think of his name.
But do you remember there was always a problem? He would always draft. He relied on the draft, and they didn't do anything at free agency. Am I correct?
Yeah, that was a big part of it. It was one second. It will load.
Yeah. But he was, and then the problem was they weren't drafting well. They would have some occasional draft picks, but it wasn't a well-done draft, which I would argue the Cowboys do have a great draft. All the key players have been drafted well.
And it was Ted Thompson.
So in that case, Ted Thompson was fired, and then they started going in free agency. One of those free agents to me was Smith. Was it Preston Smith? Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith were both signed and brought to Green Bay, or am I wrong?
I know. Holy cow! My phone does not want to actually work at the moment. This is insane. I know that Preston Smith was brought in. I'm trying to think, did we draft Za'Darius? I don't think we did. We may have, though.
Yeah.
I don't think
So
we did, though.
I bring that up because that's where.
No, we didn't draft. Za'Darius was with Baltimore. That's
Okay.
right. So, yeah, we signed both of those guys.
Yeah. And that worked well for them during that time. So I bring up that argument just saying Jerry is not a terrible GM, but he is a bad GM because you can't fire him. Because he is good. They do well at drafting. I will give him credit for that.
I do truly believe that pressure creates diamonds or coal. And the only way to truly see how good a GM is by giving them pressure, by having them make pressure decisions. And none of the decisions that Jerry Jones makes are truly pressure decisions, because there is no, the worst case scenario is the same as the best case scenario, right? That it in a sense that he's going to have his job either way because he owns the team.
That's a great way to say it. And I think this season is a great way of demonstrating that, because you go to a team for the Cowboys that was embarrassed at home by the Green Bay Packers. If you're a GM and your contract's probably tied with McCarthy, you go into this season not doing anything, letting your starting running back leave, starting center, starting left tackle, et cetera, and you don't really do anything about it. That's what Jerry did, basically. The team got worse, and okay, we're gonna replace our center and left tackle with rookies, which I do think Guyton and BB will be great, will be good offensive linemen, but that's not helping you now. You can see the offensive line is not doing well. Same thing. You're not really going to help the wide receiver position. You're going to delay your quarterback and wide receiver deals. So yeah, I don't see a GM not taking care of that quickly when he is in a contract year, to talk about the pressure.
Or not being, maybe there's some that decide, okay, I'm fine with what we have, but they're punished for that, right?
Yeah.
So even if it is a contract year and they decide, I'm running with what I have, I believe in it, they're punished for making that decision if it's wrong, or praised if it's right. But Jerry is the end-all be-all with the Cowboys. He decides how far they go because he has so much control over the team.
Yeah, that's a great way to say it. And yeah, so I don't really think we'll ever see him not be GM as long as he's the owner, which is pretty sad, because you can always fire a GM. As much as you are a bad team forever, like we saw with the Lions, eventually you get it right with a coach and a GM. But it just stinks with the Cowboys, because I would be shocked. And
so you don't think that the Heat could get hot enough to where that he can make that change?
No, because the whole Heat would just not affect him. It'd just get him talk about. He was very rude to the radio host, which he actually doesn't pay. But he's never gonna do it because he's always gonna be talked about. I think the seat hot enough, he would just sell the team because he wants to run the team his way.
Okay, so I'll ask, do you think he ever would sell the team?
No. I looked this up. Apparently, he bought the Cowboys for $150 million. The last team to be sold was $6 million. And I would say the Cowboys, just the brand as well, or $6 billion. Now, I don't know if I said million.
Yeah, I think you did, but yeah, I knew what you meant.
So $6 billion was the last, and that was Washington. I would say Cowboys probably go for $7 billion at the least.
I would probably say north of that. I would say they probably are going for $10 billion. Like, the Cowboys are the biggest team in the world if you're looking at profitability. So if he's selling the team, it is for a crazy, crazy high price.
And to me, you got to be thinking that, but I don't think he must be making way more money than that. And he still has the fame of being the owner of the Dallas Cowboys.
I do think he enjoys the media too, and I would definitely take him out of the limelight. So I think I agree with you. He'd never sell a team. I'm still trying to decide if he'd ever hire a GM. I feel like if it got bad enough at the towards the end of his career, that he would decide to hire someone to try to get one last Super Bowl during his tenure. but I don't know if that would ever be the case.
I don't think that will ever be the case because he wants to prove to everyone that it was him that helped with the Cowboys' success when it was clearly Jimmy Johnson, and he wants to prove that he can win a Super Bowl without anyone's help.
That's my dad's a Cowboys fan, and that is almost exactly what he told me.
Yeah, it's really sad because they were a good team last year. A lot of people have told me they should trade everyone, and I'm like, no, this is just a bad year, which could have been avoided if you did great GM work. They, like I said, they're a great drafting team, but you can't just rely on the draft. And the Cowboys used to spend big in free agency, really didn't do well, and now they just avoid it. And to me, that's one of the problems why they haven't had sustained success. One was coaching, but also with this year, it's just the roster. As well as I believe McCarthy should have been fired last year, or at least last year, just start over, bring someone else in. It was great candidates for head coaching and just missed opportunity here. So it is like the rock bottom, I would say, just because they're the blueprint to beat them is out there. Just run the ball and be physical, and they'll just beat themselves. And a lot of holes that I think will be fixed through the draft, but that is going to take time.
Yep. I don't really have anything else left to add.
Yeah, and so that's the Cowboys. I don't like talking to them about a ton because, like you said, Jerry's going to be getting talked about, but it is a weird occasion where the owner is the GM and just mainly the GM. Like he doesn't have a GM. Like Mark Cuban involved himself with basketball operations, but there still was a GM. But it really stinks. That is all we have in our Outsiders Opinions. Let us know what you think. We will be doing other episodes. We appreciate you listening to Outsiders Opinions.